Oh, happy day, happy day. Welcome to the Comparison Group Podcast. Today is February 2nd, 2024. I'm late to the conversation as usual, but great football games last weekend, right? The doggone Detroit Lions.
Go!
Great game in Baltimore, too, with the Chiefs. Just not enough Taylor Swift, am I right? Not enough Taylor Swift. I certainly hope they get that worked out before the Super Bowl, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's a 1, 2, 3. Take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine.
I'm suggesting a small picture-in-picture so she's always on the screen. Maybe a small box in the corner showing the game, and then the rest of my TV screen, wall-to-wall, every second, Taylor Swift.
So fine that I really want to make you mine.
I love Taylor just as much as the next 13 to 65-year-old liberal lesbian, but I watch football to see the football game. I don't even like watching players celebrate too much, jumping around and dancing every time they make a tackle or a catch.
Well, I could see you home with me, but you were with another man, yeah. I know we ain't got much to say before I let you get away, yeah. I said, are you gonna be my girl?
Come on. Oh, we're starting the show now. Okay. So we can all agree, too much Taylor Swift, correct? That's the first thing we can all agree on. You see the title of this episode. At least we can agree on this. Too much Taylor Swift. If you don't agree with it, there's something wrong. Because even Taylor would agree, too much Taylor Swift. I think she would like to be left alone. I know Taylor Swift. Well, I know a girl with the same name that looks exactly like Taylor Swift, except she has dark hair and is black, and her name is Lori Granderson. But if this fake person I'm making up was real, I'm sure she would probably say, I love that I have a platform to speak my mind, but I ain't Joan of Arc. If you love Taylor Swift, stop making her your North Star for all your beliefs. I doubt she's looking for that responsibility. Stop taking up the cause of defending her against attacks as if you don't know the attacks are coming because you're taking up the cause of defending her. Or maybe you don't know that. Holy smokes, when you gonna learn? Let her live her life. Let her go to a football game. Let her date a guy. Let her break up with a guy and write a scathing song about the guy. All without having a camera shoved in her face. All without people incessantly twittering about her or tweeting about her or whatever. The poor girl. I have no idea if it's the media's obsession that causes the public's obsession or the public's obsession that causes the media's obsession. I have no idea. But at least we should all agree, as Taylor would say, you need to calm down. What else can we all agree on? Well, at least we can all agree on this. In honor of the start of Black History Month, Tim Scott. We should all be able to agree on Tim Scott. People can unite. 100% of black people and 100% of white people can finally say, oh, okay, token. Okay, token. I get it now. I'm sure there were some people out there who didn't understand. What do you mean, token? Now you go, okay, yes, now I get it. Now I see what you mean by token. Now listen, I have a problem with the whole Uncle Tom thing. I don't like when people are called an Uncle Tom simply because they support a particular cause or they support a particular party or they support a particular person that some people would deem not right, because black people get very upset whenever you suggest that they all think the same. When people suggest that black people only vote for a black person because they're black, black people get very upset by that. So if that's the case, you can't expect someone, a black man, to always support the people that you support or belong to the political party that you belong to, that's wrong to call someone an Uncle Tom in that case. But a token? I'm quite sure you've all heard or seen the clip of Tim Scott with Donald Trump after Trump won the New Hampshire primary. Have you seen it? Have you heard it? Here's the clip of Tim Scott with Donald Trump at the New Hampshire primary.
Where the chicken at, huh?
That's not the clip. How dare you? It's much more of a visual thing, so I'm not going to play it, but I'm sure you've heard it. Trump says to Tim Scott, Nikki Haley made you a senator and you're supporting me. You must hate her. And Tim Scott says, no, I love you. But it was the optics of it, too. That's what got a lot of people. Tim Scott looked like he was working on Donald Trump's plantation, Mar-a-Lago, and there was a knock at the front door, and Trump is at the front door, and Tim Scott is standing behind him trying to look and see who's at the front door. That's how it looked. Craning his neck. Who's at the front door, boss? If any of this seems offensive to you, you should have heard what I was going to say. It was even worse. And there might be some people out there saying, didn't you just do an episode last week talking against racism? Yes, but I did also say in that episode we're all guilty of it sometimes. Remember that, so. But I'm not being racist. Really? No, I'm not being racist. Black people can't get offended at what I'm saying because they're the ones calling him an Uncle Tom. White people can't get offended at what I'm saying because they still can't get over how ugly Tim Scott is. He just does not have a good angle on TV. Maybe he's better looking in person. I don't know. I'm making a point that we can all agree this seems strange. This sudden adoration of Donald Trump out of the blue for Tim Scott. If he's a guy who is seizing on an opportunity, he sees an opportunity, he wants to seize it, fine, that's fine. No problem. I'm sure Tim Scott has his own individual beliefs and values and experiences that are informing his decision. And maybe he thinks he can do some good working along with Donald Trump. Maybe he feels like he can do some good in race relations working alongside Donald Trump. That's fine. That's fine. But call it what it is. Donald Trump is seeing him as someone he can use to his benefit. Because the sudden friendship, love, whatever you want to call it, for Tim Scott seems a little strange. Can't we all agree on that? Since when are these two guys buddy-buddy? So they're all seeing an opportunity and seizing it. We can all agree on that. Call it what it is. And then when it goes bad in 6 months, we can all say, well, we saw that coming. Because think about it. Have there been many people who haven't hitched their wagon or who have hitched their wagon to Donald Trump and it hasn't gone bad? In 6 months, they'll go, Tim Scott, he was the worst. He was the worst. He begged me like a dog to give him a job on my campaign, and I did it. He was the worst. And probably Tim Scott will end up broken in jail, just like everybody else that works with Trump. So in my opinion, black or white, just like a token, you have value until you don't anymore. Go ask Ice Cube. Remember Ice Cube? Back last election? I'm going to sit down with the Republicans. I'm going to sit down with Trump, and I'm going to tell them what we want. I'm going to tell them what we're looking for. They're willing to sit down at the table with me and talk with me. The Democrats aren't even willing to talk with me. How'd that go, Ice Cube? After the election, would they answer your call? No, because you didn't have value anymore. So at least we can all agree. Let's start calling this stuff what it is when we see it. Now, here comes the big one. Here comes the big one. That ends the entertaining portion of the show. As you know, I practice the 3 I's here. Entertaining, interesting, informative. So we're moving on to the interesting and informative. So please put on your listen closely ears. You're going to need them. The third thing we can all agree on, sometimes it's better to have common sense rather than knowledge. Repeat that. Sometimes it's better to have common sense than knowledge. Now, it appears pretty clear Donald Trump is not only going to be the Republican nominee, he actually appears to have a legitimate chance of being elected president. Again, jail can't stop him. The 14th Amendment can't stop him. Bankruptcy can't stop him. Sexual assault judgments can't stop him. The raise your hand if you think Trump sucks tweets that you seem to want to keep on sending can't stop him. And finally, all the collective knowledge of the liberal establishment has not been able to stop him. Oh, what do you mean, comparison group guy? Joe Scarborough or Morning Joe keeps telling me Donald Trump's a loser because he lost in 2018, he lost in 2019, he lost in 2020, he lost in 2021, he lost in 2022. He's so in love with that talking point on his show, he starts making up years. Donald Trump lost in 2070 asterisk BC. Donald Trump was elected president by a very slim margin in 2016. He then lost in 2018 because that's generally the way it goes. The president's party generally always loses in the midterms. Then he lost to Joe Biden by an incredibly slim margin in 2020, 55,000 votes sum total between a handful of states, a couple of states. And then 2022 was essentially a tie. It was essentially a tie. Contrary to what people who are informed and knowledgeable will still tell you to this day. I just heard a guy the other day saying, all Trump's candidates lost in 2022. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. The big name ones, Carrie Lake, Dr. Oz, Herschel Walker, the wackadoos that Donald Trump endorsed, they lost. But I gave you the numbers. From the Federal Election Commission, I gave you the numbers. Almost 90% of the candidates that Donald Trump endorsed in 2022 won. It's why people will caution you today. Folks, we have election deniers all throughout these state governments. All throughout these states, we have election deniers, hundreds of them. Because Donald Trump endorsed hundreds of candidates, not 4 in 2022. Not just the ones the media talks about. He endorsed hundreds of candidates, and almost 90% of them won. So the Republicans took the House, and Democrats held on to the Senate by a slim margin because of the wackadoo candidates that Republicans chose to put up. And back after the midterm elections, what you heard was, well, that's it for Donald Trump. He's over. He's done. He's losing support. He's losing donors. All over for him. I was going to play clips for you here, but I can't. I'm not going to do it because I got other stuff I want to play for you. And I'm going to ask you either to take my word for it or I'll tell you the episodes. You can go hear exactly what I said. The one episode was entitled, I'd Rather Be Pissed Off Than Pissed On. And the other episode was, Merry Christmas CNN, You Suck. Those are the two episodes. About 10 minutes into that episode, I believe it was, I played a clip of a guy from liberal media being asked, did the media get it wrong on 2022? Was that not a big victory for us? And the guy goes, no. And you can hear what I say. I said, what's this guy missing? What are they missing? Yes, the media got it wrong in 2022. Donald Trump was not done. In the episode, I'd Rather Be Pissed Off Than Pissed On, I said, Donald Trump is not done until his supporters decide he is done. I said that in response to all of liberal media telling everybody Donald Trump is done. Now, I don't say this to toot my own horn or to say, I told you so. I say this to say, I've told you so a bunch of times. A bunch of times. For the people who've been listening to this podcast, perhaps from day one, or at least the last year, you know I have come on here and I have played clips or I have told you this is what I said a year ago and this is what they're saying now. And it's identical to what I was saying a year ago or 3 months ago or 6 months ago. I surprised myself with that. But I realize it's better to have common sense than knowledge sometimes. These people got all the knowledge in the world and they constantly get it wrong. They constantly misinterpret things. Constantly. And they're doing it right now on perhaps the biggest issue on people's minds and the one that very well may decide the next election. They're doing it right now. What's that issue? You know it. The economy and inflation. You got all the knowledge in the world telling you why there's inflation and why food prices are so high. All the knowledge in the world. Now, I've come on here in the past. I'll give you another episode you can check out entitled, I've Had It Up to Here, where I addressed pretty strongly the notion that inflation and high food prices was based on corporate greed, I've addressed that pretty strongly. You can go listen. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. I have given you the basic common sense answer on inflation and corporate greed, or greedflation. So just recently, a report came out from a progressive organization, but that's fine. I'll excuse that for now because the report seemed pretty well sourced, and I have absolutely no reason to argue their finding that over 50% of grocery store inflation is due to corporate greed. I have no reason to argue that. I don't deny corporate greed. Let's get that straight and clear right from the start. My basic common sense answer to that was stop spending. Just stop spending. Corporations can't be greedy if you don't give them your money. Now, just keep on listening. Stop yelling at your phone or your computer or whatever, your radio, and just listen, or you're going to miss it. So we can all agree, if you combine common sense and knowledge, you have a pretty good chance at arriving at an answer that makes sense. Common sense. Stop spending. Now, combine that with knowledge. An article from the New York Times from February 1st entitled, Biden Takes Aim at Grocery Stores Over High Prices. Reading from the article now. There are still too many corporations in America ripping people off. Price gouging, junk fees, greedflation, shrinkflation, Mr. Biden said last week in South Carolina. Aides say those comments are a preview of more pressure to come against grocery chains and other companies that are maintaining higher than usual profit margins after a period of rapid price growth. Mr. Biden's public offensive reflects the political reality that while inflation is moderating, voters are angry about how much they are paying at the grocery store, and that is weighing on Mr. Biden's approval rating ahead of the 2024 election. A new analysis from the White House Council of Economic Advisors suggests that elevated profit margins are among large grocery retailers could be contributing to the stubbornly high price of food on store shelves. But the White House analysis also implies that increased grocery profit margins do not come close to accounting for the price spikes that grocery shoppers have experienced under Mr. Biden's tenure. Other research suggests additional forces like consumer demand and supply chain disruptions are a much bigger factor in the price increases. Researchers from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City found last year that strong job growth in the U.S. economy and the wage gains associated with a tight labor market were key contributors to grocery price increases. Processed foods like candy bars account for 3/4 of recent grocery price increases, the researchers found. Do you understand what I'm reading to you here? This is Joe Biden's own advisors, his own economic council saying, yeah, the higher prices partly are because of grocery stores reaping big profits, but the bigger issue has been the tight labor market, which has led to supply chain disruptions, which has also led to higher wages. Those things have been much bigger contributing factors. Now, have I said that in the past? You're doggone rootin' tootin' right, I have. You're doggone rootin' tootin' right. I didn't need the White House Economic Council of Advisors to tell me. It's common sense. It's common sense. When the price of labor goes up, the cost of labor goes up, prices will go up. When demand goes up and there's not supply to match it because there are supply chain disruptions, the prices go up. It's common sense. Comparison group. It gets worse. It gets worse. Let me read on. Mr. Biden's administration has tried several efforts to soothe grocery price pressures, particularly on the supply side. The Agriculture Department has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to help companies expand in the meatpacking industry, which is dominated by a handful of large players. The department also changed its calculations of federal food assistance benefits and adjusted them for inflation effectively increasing the value of food stamps for many low-income Americans. You got me? They increased the value of food stamps. Mr. Rama, whoever, and his co-authors, Elizabeth Pancotti and Clara Wilson, calculate those increases have more than outweighed the increase of cost of groceries for 40 million families in recent years. In an interview, Ms. Pancotti said that consumers feeling the most pain from high food prices were the ones who earn just enough money not to qualify for the food stamp program, which is known as SNAP. You have this huge chunk of people in the middle who are low income but not impoverished enough to get SNAP benefits and paying 25% more for groceries, she said. I said it. I said it. I swear, it drives me crazy. I swear I don't do this to say, I told you so. I do this to say, how do they not know? To this day, I read 5 different articles, all talking about 50% of inflation at the grocery store being due to corporate greed. 5 articles. Not a single one mentioned food stamps, the increase in food stamps. You go back, you listen to any show, any episode I did in 2023 that dealt with the economy, inflation, spending. I said it a million times. If you keep giving people more money to spend, the businesses have no incentive to lower the prices. I said it a million times. I ain't smart. It's common sense. It's common sense. If you give people money to spend, they will spend it, and the businesses will not lower the prices. If there is a tight labor market, if the economy is doing well and people are working and there is low unemployment, that's fantastic. Wages go up, prices go up. Comparison group. It even has a name. It even has a name. It's called wage price inflation. Wage price inflation. I'm not just talking to hear myself talk. I've said this a million times. It even has a name. Wage price inflation. Prices go up. People say, I can't afford stuff. I demand more money. Labor market's tight. The businesses have to give them more money. They get more money, so the prices go up. People say, I can't afford nothing. I need more money. Businesses give them more money. The price goes up. It's called wage price inflation, and it led to constant inflation from the 60s to the early 80s. It's taught in school. Where did these people with all this knowledge go to school? It's basic macroeconomics. A 4-year-old could understand it. If I'm 4 years old and I pour myself a bowl of cereal and I pour too much milk in, so when I put the cereal in, it all spills out, what do I got to do? I got to take some of the milk out. What can I do? Keep putting milk in? That I can't do. That's what we've been doing. We have had a policy of stimulus spending since 2009 in this country. A policy of stimulus spending since 2009. Because of the housing bubble, we did a huge stimulus bill. Then as the economy was starting to recover, Donald Trump was elected, we did a massive tax cut. That was stimulus. Then the economy was doing well, chugging along. Some people would even say booming. COVID hit. We did massive stimulus spending. Trillions of dollars in stimulus spending. Now they tell me the economy's booming again. Have we stopped spending? Nope. All throughout the past 15 years, almost 20 years, stimulus spending, low interest rates, 0 interest rates. The Fed buying bonds by the billions every month. All throughout the past close to 20 years. 2023, a $9 trillion budget spent. Currently, 129% debt to GDP ratio. 129% debt to GDP ratio. To put that in perspective, 70% is around where you want to stay. You get over 77%, it becomes an issue. After World War II, after all that spending, we were at 106%. The highest we've ever gotten during the Great Recession was 135%. We're at 129% debt to GDP ratio right now. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why we're still spending that much? It's basic day one economic policy. When the economy is struggling or in a recession, the government spends to stimulate growth. It's called expansionary fiscal policy. When the economy is doing well or booming, as people tell me it is now, we switch to contractionary fiscal policy, where we raise taxes and raise interest rates and cut government spending. Can anyone out there with all the knowledge tell me, when are we going to get to contractionary fiscal policy? Let's break it down, though. Let's really break it down for Joe Biden. And I'm sure there's still some naysayers out there not on board with this. Let's break this down. People say I'm doing a doggone TED Talk over here. I'll give you a TED Talk. Let's break it down. Joe Biden, I own a company that sells widgets. Okay? I sell widgets. I sell my widgets at $20 per widget. And I seek to have a profit of $1 per widget. Okay? So $20 per widget is my price. $10 goes to my labor, which includes benefits. I hate it when people do studies and they look at wages and they don't include benefits. It's dishonest. I don't like it when they do that. But $10 is for labor, $4 is for my raw materials, $3 is for my transportation, $2 on fixed income items, miscellaneous stuff, clerical, water and sewer, warehousing, whatever, $2. That comes to a cost of $19. Inputs. You'll hear Joe Biden use the word inputs. Inputs are coming down. Let's call them inputs. Okay? $19. I sell it for $20. There's my $1 profit. I sell 1,000 widgets a month. I make myself $1,000. Now, business is good. Goes up to 1,500 widgets I sell a month instead of 1,000 at $20 per widget. Well, there you go. Instead of $20,000 in revenue, you have $30,000 in revenue. You should be happy. Well, no. If you didn't go to school, or if you're listening to too much of the wrong media, when you increase the output, the production, your cost goes up. So my labor goes from $10 to $11 because now I got to produce more widgets. My raw material goes up from $4 to $5 because I'm producing more widgets. My transportation cost goes up from $3 to $4, and the fixed cost stays about the same, $2. So now my cost has become $22 per widget as opposed to $19 per widget. I now have to price that widget at $23 to make that same $1 profit, correct? Now, Joe Biden will tell you, well, your cost has come down. The labor's not going to come down. Once the labor goes up, it's very rare that it's going to come back down in any substantial way. But the raw material cost could come down from 5 back to 4. The transportation costs can come back down from 4 back to 3. But I'm still selling the $1,500. I'm still making that money. So now my cost is back down to $20 per widget, and I'm still selling it for $23, making over and above that $1 target profit. And Joe Biden and 97 gazillion people on the left and progressives are saying, bring your costs down. Bring your price down. Why? Why? How come? How come you want me to bring my price down? I'm making a lot of money. Why? I'm purposely holding here. Why? Why should I bring my price down? That is not price gouging, comparison group. I'm very sorry to break the news to people. That is not price gouging. What we call that is capitalism. That's capitalism. The market sets the price. I don't. If I was selling it for 20 and you bought it at 20, I'm pricing it at 20. If I price it at 23 and you buy it at 23, I'm selling it for 23. If I price it at 30 and you buy it at 30, I'm selling it for 30. The market sets the price. I don't. That's called capitalism. And if you have a problem with capitalism, then please stop giving Joe Biden credit for a record-setting stock market. Uh-oh. Yeah, you know where a record-setting stock market comes from? It comes from record-setting corporate profits. I'm not here to upset you. I'm not here to be the enemy. I'm here to inform. People are so anxious to they get lobbed that nice, juicy softball right down the middle of the plate. And they go, ooh, I'm going to crush this over the fence. There's a clip of Donald Trump saying the stock market is going to crash under Joe Biden and the stock market just set a record. I'm going to share that with all my followers. Fantastic, glorious. And they completely forget, oh, wait, we're supposed to be the party complaining about record corporate profits. How can we celebrate a record stock market that is based on record corporate profits? It doesn't even occur to them. You cannot have it both ways. You can't. There's a give and a take here. When the wages go up, when the demand goes up, there's going to be record corporate profits. If you keep pumping money into the economy in the form of SNAP, in the form of letting people not pay their student loans back, in the form of lowering the cost of prescription drugs, in the form of extending child care tax credits, in the form of cutting poverty in half, people will have more money to spend. They will go and spend it, and there will be record corporate profits. You can't have it both ways. To say to a business, can't you just lower your prices so you're not making so much money, is, I don't want to say it, but you know the word. It's not smart. It just isn't smart to think that way. Can't you just lower your prices to be cool, super cool? Give consumers a break. That's what Joe Biden said. Come on, give consumers a break. No, I won't give consumers a break. You know why? Because I'm greedy. Because corporations are greedy. At least we can all agree on that. So then the question comes, well, what do we do? Well, competition. We need more competition. Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Competition. We need more competition. Great. I'm electing you because we need more competition. You get elected. What do? Well, we need more competition. Yes. I'm so glad I elected you. Yes, you are correct, sir. You are correct, madam. We need more competition. What do? Well, we need more competition. No, I know. You said that. You said that when I voted for you. We need more competition. So what are we going to do? Well, we need more competition. A solution is not a solution if you can't make it happen. It's not a solution. If I say, I'm sick of work and I really want to retire. Oh, yeah, what are you going to do? Well, I need to hit the lottery. Oh, yeah, that would do it. That would certainly fix that problem. You could retire if you hit the lottery. That's not a solution. Stop saying, competition. We need more competition. If it's not a legitimate solution, stop it. And once again, before anyone says, well, what's your solution? Go back and listen. Any episode dealing with the economy, inflation, spending, I've offered plenty, but I'll offer it to you again in another form. I was listening to Bill Maher's show. Listen to his show on a podcast. I don't like these celebrities or these media people just putting their show on as a podcast and calling it a podcast. It's the exact same show he does on TV, but he puts it on and calls it a podcast. I don't like that. But anyway, I was listening to his show in the form of a podcast, and he asked a question to his guest. What do we do? And they said, competition. We need more competition. And one of the guys said, the problem is there are things you have to have, like diapers. You have to have diapers. So my suggestion to you of just stop giving these corporations your money doesn't work because you have to have certain things like diapers. Now, the average person might listen to things like that and go, yeah, you're right. You gotta have diapers. But comparison group people, the control group people like myself go, do you? Do you have to have diapers? Do you really? And you sit and you ponder. There certainly are people in this world that have babies that can't get up at 2:00 in the morning and run to the corner store a mile away and buy a box of diapers. What do they do? I know I've seen people in different countries. I've seen people in caravans coming to this country with small children. Surely they don't bring a whole bunch of diapers along with them. What do? There might even be some people living in this country that are pretty poor, live in some pretty poor rural areas that have babies. What do? So my natural common sense curiosity said, well, let me ask Google. From the website Little Bunny Bear. In her book, Diaper Free, The Gentle Wisdom of Natural Infant Hygiene, Ingrid Bauer observes that babies cared for in countries where diapers are not routinely used have fewer accidents than babies in their industrialized counterparts. Why might this be? Perhaps it's not so much about being diaper-free per se, but more about thinking of a diaper as a tool rather than a necessity. Now, comparison group. Am I coming on here telling you, stop buying diapers, people don't need to buy diapers? No, I'm not telling you that. What I'm saying is, once again, a half-a-second Google search will counter what all the knowledge in the world wants to force down your throat. Here's a woman saying, you might be interested to find out that in countries where diapers aren't readily available, the infants are potty trained much quicker. They get off of diapers much quicker because when a baby has a diaper on it, it goes. When it doesn't, it learns to not go. It learns to not go. They become potty trained much quicker, getting them off diapers much quicker. For some reason, in these countries, you have a baby going 3 times a day, whereas in this country, you got a baby going 10 times a day. You figure it out. All I'm saying is we just accept what we accept because we see these people as knowledgeable people. We like what they're saying in a lot of cases. Yeah, it's competition, and we got to do something because these companies are greedy, and you got to have what they're selling, and they control the market, and it ain't right, and it ain't fair, and there's nothing we can do. There's all sorts of things we can do. All sorts of things. All we got to do is put our minds to it. All we got to do is think about what we can do. There was a joke that people used to say, heard at movies. All I got to do is stay black and die. All I got to do is stay black and die. Well, that's not even the case anymore. Beyonce ain't black no more. And Dick Cheney's on his 5th heart. So not even that's true anymore. There's nothing that you have to do. There's nothing that you have to have. There's nothing that you can't find an alternative for. If you try, if you think about it, if we put our collective minds to it, please stop listening to people that you think have all the knowledge and start listening to some people that have common sense. Please. Even if it's not me. Anybody that just has common sense. Sometimes you might have to go Googling like I do and reading stuff like I do and looking on YouTube like I do. I don't have all this knowledge just floating around in my head. I got to go find it. It's out there. It's out there if you look. Joe Biden, it's out there if you look. All right? Contractionary policy, Joe. It's time. It's time. It's been 20 years. Be the leader. Be the leader I know you can be. Contractionary policy. We have to do it. We cannot sustain the pace of spending that we're on. The interest on the debt will not allow us to do it. Contractionary fiscal policy will bring the prices down. It may even push us into a short-term recession, but it's what you call a correction in the economy. The economy is out of whack right now. It just is. We need a correction. You know the economy's out of whack because you got all these people saying the economy's booming, and then you got all these people saying, I ain't happy. So something ain't lining up. That should not be the case. You shouldn't have a 30% approval rating on the economy if the economy's booming. And stop saying, oh, there must be some kind of disconnect where we're not telling people the message. We got to get the message to the people. You don't have to message me how much money I got in my pocket. I know how much money I got in my pocket. Trust me. Be a leader, Joe Biden, because we should all be able to agree whether Donald Trump becomes president again or not will not determine the fate of our democracy. Going bankrupt will have a lot more to do with determining the fate of our democracy. Woo, show takes a lot out of me sometimes. I appreciate you hanging in with me. I appreciate you investing your time. I hope you found that show entertaining, informative, and interesting. The 3 I's. Please remember to follow, rate, and share on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Again, once you follow me, you should get a notification, if you want to, that the show is available. New episode, you can check it out. Rating and sharing, it just helps me. It just if you think what I'm saying has some value, put it out there. Put it out there. Even when you think people aren't listening, trust me, they're listening. Because when people share, I can tell. I can see it. So please do that. And thank you to the person who sent me the article from the New York Times. That was much appreciated. It helped me with this episode. And that's it. I'll see you next time.